Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 25th day of November 2020. It's a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm going to get our, all right. We have a little carcer this morning for the geomancy rune, a little self-imprisonment. I don't know for sure what that means yet. The rune is Isa, 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. So maybe self-imprisonment by the ego versus alignment in spirit. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what the cards have to say, though. It's always interesting when I get runes that are, in a sense, diametrically opposed from one another. And that's really what we've got here today. I'm losing my voice already. I got 20 seconds into this the first go around, and it froze, and so I just decided my decision now is to just go ahead and reboot the computer, which I did, so we shouldn't have any more problems. I mean, it's not like we're in Mercury retrograde right now, so I don't really know why any more computer gremlins will be coming to play with me today, but maybe, we'll see. Sometimes I think one resides in here, just hangs out, waiting. It's like, okay, when she least expects us, let's make the computer mess up on her. Let's see, get this out of the way so I've got some room here. All right, well, I'm going to move my keyboard out of the way too. There we go. Anyhow, tomorrow's the day. When I thought my 12-pound turkey today, I got a small one. And it's a butterball, so I think the thing cost me $25, but something like that, just for a small one. But that's okay. Our very first turkey, when we got married, was a 25-pound butterball. My husband insisted, and back then it cost $25. It was $1 a pound. And that was in 79. And so since then, I mean, sometimes I get other brands, but most of the time I get the Butterball. I don't know. It isn't necessary. The others taste just as good. So anyway, I hope everyone's ready for it. I hope that, I hope you're doing what the healthcare workers want, and that's to stay home and not gather with others. But I know that for some, that's not the case. And, it's funny. Last year, we took our vacation at Eagle Crest, which is a local resort. We have chickens, and so we just decided to get away for a week here. And it's just down the street from us, basically. And when we got home, it wasn't long, and my husband got sick first, and then I did. And it hung on for me till, toward the end of March. Now, what it was, we don't know. A lot of people stay there at that place, though. It's huge. And so I don't know. Even though we were secluded and we didn't go anywhere. We just, came home to feed the chickens, make sure everything was okay. That's the only thing we did. And so I know we walked a few times, but we weren't around people. So what it was we got, I don't know. But it was the worst we'd ever had. So but it doesn't seem to align with the COVID symptoms we're hearing about. So unless it was a mild case, maybe. But even with that, things people say, it probably wasn't that. It was probably just the flu. And it just hung on for me. So, But this year, we're going to stay home by ourselves and, talk on the phone to the kids, and that'll be it. I'm not going to take the chance that we could bring anything to anyone. I've been reading that it's the asymptomatic people that are really spreading this. It's not so much people that are openly ill, because usually you're confining yourself at that point, but it's when you don't know it that it's so dangerous, because you're passing it to other people. I guess that's why it's so vital to not go around anyone right now if you don't have to. And holidays are elective. I know for some people they don't feel like it is, but they really are. So it's all in how you want to see it. So I guess I just am a little shocked at seeing that people are going to continue to do what they do instead of understanding what's at stake. But I guess they don't see it that way. So anyhow, let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards here and see what we have for today. Let's see, I'll turn my thing off of Twitter here and back onto my witch notes here. Okay, where's my acrobat? There it is. Just in case I forget something on a card, or I know, it's like, okay, there was something else about that, so let me check the meaning just to be sure that there's not another angle I can go from here. So if you have not been here before, welcome. I'm going to take the 13th card each time when I shuffle for randomness sake, even though I've shuffled a bit. Sometimes I end up drawing the same cards, so that's why I do it. We'll start with 3. If we need another one, then we'll take it. We start with the High Priestess card. This means the goddess, the intuition, the goddess presence in our lives. Magician, I view the Magician and the High Priestess together, and so the Magician is what's going to establish the physical framework, the elemental aspects of our existence, and then she comes in and provides the unconsciousness, the subconscious, the unconscious, the collective consciousness, sort of imbues all of that into the form. The balance, polarity, and all of that, although you see a little more of that when you get to the Lover's card. But the initial balance of who we are comes from her. Inner wisdom, alignment. She also represents change and the dream state, the divine feminine, divine wisdom. So source presence imbuing us through the High Priestess, or the Creator imbuing us with the soul force, integrating it into the physical form, basically. The major arcana cards are soul archetype cards, and so I view them a little differently, maybe than some tarot readers, maybe not. But I see like it's like the Uru's force, the second rune of the Elder Futhark. Uru's is about the manifesting force behind the manifestation itself, and so I think that's probably, I probably give more weight to major cards from a soul perspective that way, I guess. I don't know. We have the Knight of Pentacles. I think maybe we had the Knight of Wands on Monday, maybe. It was either Monday or maybe it was last Thursday. But the thing about, I was talking about directionality, and in terms of the Knight of Wands taking care of the past or preserving what is. And the Knight of Pentacles is concerned about the material future. But Knights are dynamic. And again, they're directional. I think anyway, in terms of what their challenges are. But Pentacles is about the earth element. So again, it's about our material security. It's really about everything to do with physical form. And the Knights are quite protective of that. The Knight of Pentacles is going to be more grounded. It's going to be more money oriented, more security oriented. But he's focused on the future. So signaling maybe we all ought to be. So and then we have the Hermit, the 9th card of the major arcana. Oh, and the High Priestess is the second card, card 2. This is card 9. the Hermit, the ultimate voice of inner truth, really, in the major arcana. We're going to, well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how the High Priestess and the Hermit guide the path of the Knight. Lots of things are changing for us collectively in terms of a new president and a new energy that has to fix a lot of the damage that's been done, and to try to reestablish a new path forward, one that's shared, one that's based on unity and unity of expression and all of that, healing the relationships between people. And I realize that that's a tall order, and it's maybe, seems like it can't happen, but I think anything can happen. When we'll talk about Karser first, though. Karser is one of the runes, one of the geomancy runes that's considered so evil that when you draw it, you have to destroy the reading. Well, I don't. I don't agree with that. And basically, though, how I view this, it can actually be viewed in several ways. Let me see if I have my book here. No, I don't. I think it's in the other room. One of the ways that it can be viewed, of course, is self-imprisonment. I mean, it kind of looks like a little bird cage. And you have the top single dot represents fire, the next is air, the next is water, and the next is earth. And so you have active presence on fire and earth, and passive on air and water. So in a sense, you're captive. You're captive by circumstances. You're captive by your own choices. You're captive by your own perceptions. So it can be and irrespective of which area it's coming from, either self or something external to you, it's really about staying stuck within a particular process. And with Isa, there's a different kind of alignment here. This is an alignment in spirit. This is ego contraction. So in a sense, Isa is the answer to Karser. It's getting the ego contracted enough that you can then transmute it into spirit. Instead, what happens here in form is that the ego takes over, and we forget that we're souls. And we forget that the impact of that needs to be in the here and now, not after we die. This is not the place to try to get it right and then access the soul once we die. No, the soul is present all the time and is the driving force behind our existence. If the soul weren't in the body, we wouldn't be here. All right, there'd be no need for the body. It's the only reason why it's here, is so that the soul has some place to park itself, basically, to then go and experience life in tangible form on behalf of the Creator and the collective consciousness. So in a sense, we have two different alignments here. We have alignment in spirit, and we'll say alignment in ego. Now, we start with the Knight of Pentacles. We see the Knight in battle attire. He's holding a large coin. He's not going anywhere. He's just standing guard in a way. Again, Pentacles is about our practical side. It's about the material side. And what he's signaling is he's trustworthy. He's wise. He's dependable. He's practical. He's realistic. He's standing back above the fray. You can kind of see him. It kind of seems like he's kind of up a little ways. You can see what looks like a body of water here, or at least the reflection of the trees above here, I think. No, that's her signature. So I'm not sure what that is. At first it looked, with my double vision here, I need the glasses for reading. Unfortunately, I'm at a weird place here, distance-wise, and so it's like sometimes I need them and sometimes I don't. But no, that's Pamela Coleman-Smith's signature. But it looks like it's the trees above, and it looks like it's reflecting down below. But that's not what that is. I'm not sure what the white spot is. or what it might be depicting. I mean, it could be depicting a body of water. In tarot, the bodies of water are not always blue. So just, I mean, sometimes they are. A lot of the time they are. But you'll like look at, say, the Three of Wands or something, and the bay is kind of an orangish, goldish red, and you can see boats down in there. So it's not always, you know, you might even interpret that as fiery emotion, maybe, or the waters of creativity, but they're not blue, okay? And so that's why I say, is that a reflection? No, it's not. But we have this magnificent black steed, and it's really the Knight of Pentacles. To me, is a real depiction of strength. It reminds me of those of the Budweiser horses, you know, the really tall ones. What, I forget what they're called. They're a workhorse, but I remember after 9/11, you know, at the Super Bowl, they would have the Budweiser commercials, and the big Budweiser horses would come out, and this time it was a fire dog. It was a Dalmatian. I think it was a Dalmatian, but it was a firehouse dog, right? Because it was after 9/11, and it was to honor the firefighters. And so they came together, and they bowed to the dog, and it was just, it was intense. But I don't know if any of you remember that, but it just made me cry. It makes me want to cry when I think about it. But it's the strength of coming together in one purpose, and I think that that's what we're lacking right now, don't you? And I think that the only way we find that now is within, is to align within in spirit and understand, you know, take a look back. You know, you have here balancing polarity, basically. Here, did you see the high priestess sitting in between the pillars of Solomon? You see her crown, the triple aspects of that, maiden, mother, and crone. Behind her, if you could see the whole thing, is like a wall hanging, or a tapestry, and it depicts the tree of life, with each different orb of it depicted by an open pomegranate. You see the cross, and it's not a religious cross. Let's see, what did I do with that? This isn't the only time we see it. And I think I have it in this stack of papers here. I used to have it attached to my computer right there, so I don't have to draw it out each time. But it's the idea of the horizontal and vertical plane of existence. So soul versus, oh, you know, sticky notes are fun, aren't they? They just all stick together. So I don't see it. Well, maybe I'll just have to draw it again, if I can find something to do that on. Here we go. Where is that thing? Well, it's the idea of the intersection between spirit and form. And that's what we see with her. You've got the cross, okay? The cross. And here you have spirit infusing into form. You have the positive and negative, which would be the feminine and the masculine, or the receptive. Ooh, receptive and projective. Now, typically, you know, we're somewhere down here at the bottom, but realistically, we should be up by the line. But that's really what I believe that cross means. It's she's in complete balance between spirit and the body, and the ego, all right, or the personality, however you want to see that. And she's in complete alignment there. She holds the Torah, the voice of God, basically, on her lap there. You can see right there the word Torah. And she has one foot resting, at least appearing to rest, on a maiden moon. And that's signaling beginnings. You know, you've got maiden, mother, and crone. So if you think about it in terms of moon phase, the maiden is the beginning phase. It's the new phase of the moon. Mother, of course, is the full phase, and then crone is the dark phase. And it basically symbolizes the triplicity of the phases of life, you know, the three phases of life. and any other, past, present, future, beginning, middle, end, uh, uh, whatever triple types of aspects you want to think of, really. And that's what she represents, that alignment in Isa, basically, with spirit, having spirit control the whole process. Because if you look here, where I think we ought to be, if we were aware of who we are as spirit, we would be up here, and instead we kind of wallow a bit down here because we can't make up our mind whether, what it is we want to be. You can also think about the high priestess in terms of the choice between service to self and service to others. And I think that we can see that paradigm or that dichotomy or that balance playing out right now in our relationships with other people, in the authoritarian way of the current government and the impact it's had on, on people's lives, to not deal with the pandemic, to lie about it and say, yeah, no big deal. The worst of that, of course, is send your kids back to school. Got to get them back to school. Well, sure. But if the government's not going to help us do that safely, well, then, you know what they can do with that. Again, they get us in a place where we're having to make decisions that don't serve anyone. It's like when you hurry up on something and it's not prepared. Well, it doesn't work out, does it? Well, that's what we're experiencing right now. And I think that when you talk about the Knight of Pentacles, you're talking about something that's more practical and realistic, surrounding our basic life here. Our family, our career, our neighbors, our daily routine, right? And how we manage all of that. Are we going to do it safely right now during a pandemic, or are we going to be like the guy at Eagle Crest, where there's actually people that live at it's a place called Eagle Crest. Well, there's also it was born out of really a resort, but then there's homes there as well. And apparently one guy there, and I have to wonder if he was the guy we saw in Safeway that we turned around and he was no mask at all. His wife had one on, but not him. But I mean, what does resort living go to your head or something, and you think you don't need to wear any? I guess this guy's never worn anything. He's not he goes out and about without a mask. He goes everywhere without a mask. It's like, well, could you memo your schedule to me? I mean, just put it in a memo, publish it somewhere so we know where not to go. I mean, I don't know. But again, when we see Pentacles and we see the Knight, we think protection of what we've built, either together or, individually or in a family or what have you. And there has to be, with the High Priestess, some kind of spiritual awareness that takes over in times like these, where, the Knight is wanting to go on into the future with a sense of security, but how can we do that if we're still confused over what it takes to get there? Whether it's the having to worry about people that want to harm you versus people who, maybe you're not someone like that. You've got that dichotomy going. We've got a lot of, in other words, think about the either ors that are going on right now in our lives. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground right now. And I think that that's what the High Priestess is really telling us, with being the card 2 of the major arcana. A 2 is about, it's about balance and decisions. It's about reciprocity. And it's about alignment and coming into some kind of balance. We're in a 22 year, and I've talked about this before. That's the master number for the cosmic builder, but what does that really entail? What kind of higher level building are we trying to do, or remanifestation are we trying to really do here? When we're so divided, to me it means a reflection of our relationships, and how far apart are they from one another? Can we find a way back together? That's the main issue here. We've set a different course, as we see with the Knight of Pentacles, and the stock market's even and now that President-elect Biden has chosen his part of his cabinet anyway, we know that Janet Yellen is going to be the Treasury Secretary if she's confirmed, and she likely will be. We see a different kind of focus and a shift toward and away from the notion of the very rich controlling everything. Because that's what this has been. It's been one big grift for the rich. And so with the appearance of some in the country getting some kind of relief, but yet if you look at the tax act itself, you'll find out that in a couple of years that all goes away. It's built in. And maybe it's next year, I don't know. But it seemed like it was just a couple years from now, or maybe it's next year, or in 2022 or something. It goes away, and you're right back. Well, it won't, because when President Biden is inaugurated, that's going to look differently. All right. Whatever benefit you had won't go away, but the richest people will have to pay more, so that we can return the money to the coffers. See, if you don't have taxes, there's no money in the coffers, no money in the tax account, right? To then pay for things if you don't have that money coming in. So if you take away the very, very rich from paying a lot, and here's the thing, there's the wealth tax that they don't seem to have, and maybe that will also get put into place so that we can start funding things again that, in terms of social safety net. That's the other thing about the Knight of Pentacles. To me, he represents the social safety net. And I think what he's suggesting is that there's going to be a change within that now. And I think it's right. I think that that's exactly what's going to happen. So we may see some concerns get resolved, right? Vis-a-vis how we manage our lives and how we do that, especially within a pandemic. I mean, the whole reason behind the government in times of pandemic is to make sure businesses stay open, even if they have to be closed, that they have money coming in so that they can keep, pay their staff. So nobody has to go out and look for another job that isn't there because the businesses have closed, right? And that was the whole function of that PPP program, except that it went to everybody it shouldn't have gone to. And it didn't get down to the small business, and now we've lost small business. And then when you see a governor trying to keep the state safe by slowing things down and saying, okay, these businesses have to close, or in terms of restaurants, you can do takeout, but you can't have anybody inside right now for a couple of weeks, so we can try to stem the tide of this. Then you have, you have states where some of the people are going to say, yeah, we'll forget that. This is not right. Don't do this to us again. Well, if we had actually done a national effort in the beginning, it wouldn't be necessary. But we didn't, because we didn't have the governance that we needed to explain to people that, hey, this is a serious thing. Instead, it's, oh no big deal. It's a hoax. Yeah. So we go then to the 9. And the 9 is about endings and completion, but it's also about the humanitarian sense within. And it's about generosity and kindness. But in this case, the Hermit, you can see his lighted lamp there, the Merkaba within, shining out, its rays coming out of the lantern there, lighting his way. He's standing up on top of a mountaintop. He's going into retreat and withdrawal to gain perspective. In this case, he's getting way up high on a mountain peak, and he's looking down. He's holding onto his staff. But basically, he's retreating to renew his spirit. And to get it, it's like a 7 number, really. It should be really the 7th card of the major arcana, in a sense, because you're looking at a type of stepping back and taking stock, and listening to your own silent counsel, your inner voice, divine wisdom. It can also mean caution. because you don't really, in other words, step back for a moment because you don't really see the clear picture of what's going on. And so I think the message of spirit here within this reading, in terms of the High Priestess and the Hermit, is to not only, and then aligning with, well, I'll talk about that in a second, in terms of the runes. It's basically telling the Knight, in order to move forward, you have to find the divine spirit within. You have to step back and get a greater perspective of what's really going on and see the truth for what it is. Even if it happens to not align with what your, perceptions really are. Because that's the thing, perception is just that. It may not be truth. And I think that we have a lot of people that are so firmly entrenched in their own perceptions right now that we can't agree on what that truth is. But that's ego. That's not spirit. Spirit knows exactly what's going on. And I think that that's why we see two major cards here in this reading, the day before Thanksgiving, is that you got to take a step back and see what's really going on. See what the truth is. And if you're, if you wonder why people are so worried, well, maybe there's a reason. Don't think it's a hoax. It's not. What is the count now? 260,000 people have died. And those are just the ones we know about. Because not all states are acknowledging all of it. And so the numbers are, I'm sure, quite a bit higher. But it's a travesty. If you're on Twitter, you probably see accounts, threads of what people go through. I read one yesterday that they lost their father, and they had to take him off life support. That's where it got, and it happened very quickly. Others in their family were ill. Another, I think she said, an aunt also passed. People are losing people. Multiple people are dying within families right now. And some, you lose 4 or 5 people to this. And I think that when you also listen to the healthcare workers and how overworked they are, and then you look at the pictures and the video of the airports right now over the last few days, packed with people, a lot of them not wearing any masks at all. The mask in this particular case helped one of the sisters to not get the disease, to not get the virus. She was the one that was around the sick people, and she didn't get it, at least not yet. But the thinking is in the family that she isn't going to, because of being around them all the time with a mask, and in the house, I guess. And so I think that they work, especially if they're worn properly. And I think that if you are going to gather with family, you might want to do that in the house, have masks on, and try not to impact one another at all. And then when it comes time to sit down at the table, don't, spread out. Do whatever you have to do. If it's warm enough, sit outside and have your dinner outside. But if you can at all find it within your heart to not do this year, if you can be the hermit and step above all of it and try to take a look at things objectively, outside the ego, outside of perception, maybe you can understand what people have been worried about, and you can make a different choice to preserve your future and the future of your family, so that next year, when we gather together again for Thanksgiving, if we do that, then maybe everybody will be there. And it can be a really loving and celebratory time. They're saying now that if you do this now, then you may lose people by Christmas, or people will could be hospitalized by Christmas. The hospitals can't take it. You have some areas that are creating overflow centers in convention halls. If this wasn't true, if this wasn't real, people would be alive and we wouldn't be doing this. So it has to matter somewhere. Now, maybe it doesn't matter in the prison of the ego, in the Karsa of it all. But in terms of the Isa of it all, it does. We can't be at such odds with one another that we turn a blind eye to this. So I'm hoping that for everyone concerned, that Spirit takes over here and we all do the right thing and try to think about someone other than ourselves and think about their protection. For people that even breeze right through this, 3 or 4 months later, they can develop really odd vascular issues. People are talking about clots in their lungs or something. One person said, I'm out of the hospital, but I'm dealing with the lung clots. So, and I've seen that before. Massive cytokine storms of inflammation can happen. All kinds of things can happen. So it's true. It's not a lie, and it's something that we're all going to have to take a step back and view this from a perspective that maybe we don't normally view it from. Step outside of that and get above it all and let Spirit inform our choices here over the holiday. So please stay safe this weekend. We have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so 4 days that we have to get through. And hopefully we'll all get through it in a way that's safe and healthy and respectful of the truth. So anyway, I guess that's it. And I'll see you on Sunday for Esoteric Influences. That'll also go up on the blog in post form, as you know. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can do that. Go over to imsteppingaside.com to my blog. And over on the left side panel, you can just scroll down a little bit. You can see newsletter sign up. You just put your email in there. It goes to my newsletter client. And I do my newsletter, which is the Esoteric Influences. And then I hit send. And so whoever's on the list gets it on Sundays. And then I do it in video form after I do that. So that'll also be on the left side panel, as will this be. I'm putting all the videos over there now, the herbal ones, the magical musings, all of that. And so you can find all that there too. So anyhow, thanks for coming by. If you have not clicked subscribe, I'd love you to do that and come back. And let's see what Monday looks like after this weekend. And hopefully everybody's, doing fine, and we can head on into the other holiday that we're terrified about. So anyhow, thanks a lot, you guys. And I'm so glad that for everybody that's subscribed, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.